Hey, guys, what's up? Hope you all are fine. So, let's start with today's video.
When Zarathustra had spoken these words, he looked again at the people, and fell silent. There they stand, he said to his heart. They laugh. They do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears. Must one first smash their ears so that they learn to hear with their eyes? Must one rattle like kettle drums and penitence preachers? Or do they believe only a stutterer? They have something of which they are proud. And what do they call that which makes them proud? Education, they call it. It distinguishes them from goatherds. For that reason they hate to hear the word contempt applied to them. So I shall address their pride instead. Thus I shall speak to them of the most contemptible person, but he is the last human being. And thus spoke Zarathustra to the people. It is time that mankind set themselves a goal. It is time that mankind plant the seed of their highest hope. Their soil is still rich enough for this, but one day this soil will be poor and tame, and no tall tree will be able to grow from it anymore. Beware, the time approaches when human beings no longer launch the arrow of their longing beyond the human, and the string of their bow will have forgotten how to whir. I say to you, one must still have chaos in oneself in order to give birth to a dancing star. I say to you, you still have chaos in you. Beware, the time approaches when human beings will no longer give birth to a dancing star. Beware, the time of the most contemptible human is coming, the one who can no longer have contempt for himself. Behold, I show you the last human being. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? Thus asks the last human being, blinking. Then the earth has become small, and on it hops the last human being, who makes everything small. His kind is ineradicable, like the flea beetle. The last human being lives longest. We invented happiness, say the last human beings, blinking. They abandoned the regions where it was hard to live, for one needs warmth. One still loves one's neighbor and rubs up against him, for one needs warmth. Becoming ill and being mistrustful are considered sinful by them. One proceeds with caution. A fool who still stumbles over stones or humans. A bit of poison once in a while, that makes for pleasant dreams, and much poison at the end for a pleasant death. One still works, for work is a form of entertainment, but one sees to it that the entertainment is not a strain. One no longer becomes poor and rich. Both are too burdensome. Who wants to rule anymore? Who wants to obey anymore? Both are too burdensome. No shepherd and one herd. Each wants the same. Each is the same. And whoever feels differently goes voluntarily into the insane asylum. Formerly the whole world was insane. The finest ones say, blinking. One is clever and knows everything that has happened, and so there is no end to their mockery. People still quarrel, but they reconcile quickly. Otherwise it is bad for the stomach. One has one's little pleasure for the day and one's little pleasure for the night, but one honors health. We invented happiness, say the last human beings, and they blink. And here ended the first speech of Zarathustra, which is also called the prologue, for at this point he was interrupted by the yelling and merriment of the crowd. Give us this last human being, O Zarathustra. Thus they cried, make us into these last human beings. Then we will make you a gift of the Overman. And all the people jubilated and clicked their tongues. But Zarathustra grew sad and said to his heart, they do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears. Too long apparently I lived in the mountains. Too much I listened to brooks and trees. Now I speak to them as to goatherds. My soul is calm and bright as the morning mountains. But they believe I am cold, that I jeer, that I deal in terrible jests. And now they look at me and laugh, and in laughing they hate me too. There is ice in their laughter. Then, however, something happened that struck every mouth silent and forced all eyes to stare. For in the meantime the tightrope walker had begun his work. He had emerged from a little door and was walking across. The rope stretched between two towers, such that it hung suspended over the marketplace and the people. Just as he was at the midpoint of his way, the little door opened once again, and a colorful fellow resembling a jester leaped forth and hurried after the first man with quick steps. Forward, sloth, smuggler, pale face, or I'll tickle you with my heel. What business have you here between the towers? You belong in the tower. You should be locked away in the tower, for you block the way for one who is better than you. And with each word he came closer and closer to him. But when he was only one step behind him, the terrifying thing occurred that struck every mouth silent and forced all eyes to stare. He let out a yell like a devil and leaped over the man who was in his way. This man, seeing his rival triumph in this manner, lost his head and the rope. He threw away his pole and plunged into the depths even faster than his pole, like a whirlwind of arms and legs. The marketplace and the people resembled the sea when a storm charges in. Everyone fled apart and into one another, and especially in the spot where the body had to impact. But Zarathustra stood still, and the body landed right beside him, badly beaten and broken, but not yet dead. After a while the shattered man regained consciousness and saw Zarathustra kneeling beside him. "What are you doing here?" he said finally. "I've known for a long time that the devil would trip me up. Now he is going to drag me off to hell. Are you going to stop him?" "By my honored friend," answered Zarathustra, "all that you are talking about does not exist. There is no devil and no hell. Your soul will be dead even sooner than your body. Fear no more." The man looked up mistrustfully. "If you speak the truth," he said, "then I lose nothing when I lose my life. I am not much more than an animal that has been taught to dance by blows and little treats." "Not at all," said Zarathustra. "You made your vocation out of danger, and there is nothing contemptible about that. Now you perish of your vocation, and for that I will bury you with my own hands." When Zarathustra said this, the dying man answered no more, but he moved his hand as if seeking Zarathustra's hand in gratitude. Meanwhile evening came, and the marketplace hid in darkness. The people scattered, for even curiosity and terror grow weary. But Zarathustra sat beside the dead man on the ground and was lost in thought, such that he lost track of time. Night came at last, and a cold wind blew over the lonely one. Then Zarathustra stood up and said to his heart, "Indeed, a nice catch of fish Zarathustra has today. No human being did he catch, but a corpse instead. Uncanny is human existence, and still without meaning a jester can spell its doom. I want to teach humans the meaning of their being, which is the overman, the lightning from the dark cloud human being. But I am still far away from them, and I do not make sense to their senses. For mankind I am still a midpoint between a fool and a corpse. The night is dark, the ways of Zarathustra are dark. Come, my cold and stiff companion, I shall carry you where I will bury you with my own hands."
So fine, it's up for today. Thank you very much for watching the video.